Well, the Fed paused for the first time in 15 months after 10 consecutive increases, and we know that that path of increases was pretty intense. In a row, he raised 4 times 75 basis points. So finally, we got to the pause. How's the market reacting? Well, the market initially sold off. I always expect volatility when we're dealing with a rate hike or a pause, but the markets initially sold off. But by the end of the day, they reclaimed their ground and closed up the S&P 500. That, with today, has put us on the longest winning streak for the S&P 500 since November of 2021. And on that, we should all pause and think about what that means. We're in a massive winning streak, and the last time we were in this spot was very near the all-time highs of the S&P 500 back in November, when there were very few days left before the market turned around and began to capitulate. The Fed, even with the pause, he said there's going to be, the FOMC meeting. Out of that came that there's going to be potentially 2 more rate increases. I've looked at what a lot of other analysts are expecting from the Fed. And interestingly, most of the big investment firm houses are expecting rate cuts going into this year. And yet here at the FOMC, they're saying that the U.S. economy continues to remain strong. We're seeing that in companies like Tesla. It's moving a bunch of cars. We're seeing that in all of these companies, that they're not doing poorly. This is not the apocalypse recession that everybody expected. There hasn't come the slowdown. The only thing that is on the table right now for the Fed is that they're concerned that inflation is going to remain sticky and get out of control again. And I just want to recap with you guys this subject of inflation. I know a lot of you guys understand it, but there's some that don't. The Fed needs to get the inflation goal to 2%. He's not trying to bring deflation. He's not trying to take the cost of goods in the U.S., cost of gas and milk and all the other things that have become expensive, and he's not trying to slow the economy down so that prices decrease. His only goal is to control how quickly prices increased for the cost of goods. Nothing will go back to the prices that we used to enjoy. And on that note, I just want to explain something to you about the economy in general. The things that cause the price of goods to go down and are really innovation. It's when technology advances occur, which reduces labor and increases product, reduces the cost to manufacture, and that gets passed on to the consumer. It's innovation. It's companies like Apple and Tesla and AI that bring about the changes in the economy that makes things cheaper to produce, makes things more abundant. It's not the Fed pushing down the cost of goods. The cost of goods always go up. So the Fed is concerned, and the Feds are hawkish. The market doesn't care. It's pushing higher again today. And I'm going to cover some of the stocks I think are really important to watch. We're going to look at the Apple indicator. I've got to give some additional commentary on Tesla, a couple other stocks I didn't get to touch on yesterday, and some interesting news stories. This is the Stocks with Josh show. Thank you for all the likes. Thank you for the comments, and thanks for joining this community. All right, I want to jump into Tesla because it's still a hot stock. It's still one I'm interested in. There's been some interesting news stories, and I want to also kind of go over why has the Tesla stock pushed up this high after dropping to $100 at the beginning of this year and $153 in just the last couple months. Let's just kind of go through that. I want to start off with a news story first regarding Tesla and France. France wants Elon Musk to build Tesla factory in the country, even as it threatens Twitter with a ban. Guys, this is my concern regarding Elon going to France. France, Germany, the EU, we've got a massive amount of bureaucracy, and we've got a major change in commerce in the world. It used to be that the Western world is where corporations found safety and freedom to operate, the ability to run and produce great wealth, but I don't really see that being the case anymore. All of these big countries have agendas to control the corporations that are in them. I would even go as far as to say that I would not be surprised if there was a master plan, billionaire elites trying to entice Elon to actually build that factory there with all sorts of tax cuts and benefits and development money added to the pot, only to have him under their thumb so that they can actually begin to control this guy who bucks the system and pushes free speech. Personally, I think that Elon's putting the big mega plant in Mexico was a great call. Mexico is interested in building up their economy. That's why they've made it so attractive to Elon to come in. That is their first priority, is to give their citizens good paying jobs and to benefit their way of life. But I'm telling you, in the US, in Canada, in France, in Germany, and in the EU. Leaders that run those countries have a different agenda. And if Elon made the big mistake of putting a factory in France, he would find himself under a host of pressures, and they would simply have him in a trap. That's my personal opinion. As an American, I would always love to see more and more jobs come to the US, but I understand that we're in a global economy, and as American businesses, we're making products that go into all of these countries of the world. Put it in India, where there is a young workforce, English-speaking, smart engineers, and a country that's really interested in long-term economic growth. Well, that's my 2 cents as to what Elon should do, but let me know in the comments what you think about this particular subject. But why is Tesla stock doing so well? What's pushing the stock higher? And is that news good enough to potentially push the stock higher from here all the way to $315? That's what I'm asking myself right now. But so let's kind of recap some of the big events that have occurred recently. One, the Model 3 got the full tax credit. That's going to help them sell more units. But more importantly, we saw that the Tesla connector, the NACS, has become the North American charging standard. This is going to drive some great profits for infrastructure already built into their bottom line. We also saw that GM and Ford are adopting this standard, and again, that's going to give them a better profit margin. And that leads us to the point that I think is really affecting the stock price. The big event that caused Tesla to run up and could still be the wind in Tesla's sails is the fact that they stopped cutting the costs, especially driving into the next 6 months of this year. People were concerned that if he's cutting costs now to move units, he might cut even more to move units in the latter half of the year. Right before we get into those quarters, the market wanted reassurance that Elon was done with cutting the precious profit margins of the company. Same exact story over in Meta. I'm not going to get into Meta right now, but that's exactly what got Meta stock back on course, was that the shareholders needed to see that he was going to begin to control spending and stop pushing millions and billions of dollars into the virtual reality space, focus on the business that he had. As soon as he got his balance sheet in order, and as soon as he began to cut costs, laying off people, people loved it. They reaffirmed the stock. They reaffirmed its rightful place as one of the big tech winners, and it's skyrocketed ever since. That's the big reason why Tesla's been pushing up, is because Elon has stopped cutting prices. So here's what you need to know about that, is the stock could then get punished if there's any reason he goes back to price cutting. He's done as much price cutting as anybody wants to see in 2023. So that's the number one thing we're going to watch moving forward. Price cutting for 2023 has to be behind us. We need to see strong demand all the way through to the end of this year. And yes, Tesla then can go to 300 and then eventually to 600. We can get that Tesla split, and then we can all make even more money. That's what we're watching for. Okay, just like I told you guys, I got out of Tesla at $260. Big win. Celebrate later. It hit 261.57 and it came straight down. So yes, my prediction that 260 was a decent sell zone and a hard resistance zone definitely proved to be true, as the stock plummeted to $250, but it did bounce, and it's now been sitting around 254, and we got to see what ground it could recover through the end of the day. So I'm just going to give you guys that local support right now for Tesla is $248. If we were to lose $248 and you're a long-term investor, mark my words, if we get a daily or weekly close beneath $248, then Tesla is on its way back to $204. So just keep your eye on that. But on the other side of the coin, the bullish side of the coin, if we get a close back above $264, then we're absolutely going to push up to $315. So truth be told, Tesla is currently at a zone of decision where it's either going to break down or it's going to break higher, and absolutely both are on the table. And if you've listened to me, you know how I'm going to play it. I'm going to be watching those critical zones. I'm going to be in with my full position if we get a close above 264. But at the moment, I do not own any shares. I did, though, take some profit of my shares and drop them into call options when it came down to 250. So I am in some call options. I'm not in any shares right now on Tesla, but I will go back into full position size and more based on the technicals I just gave you. Over 264, we're going to 315. Under 248, it's going to be buy again at 204. Okay, so one of the questions you should be asking me is, when am I going to sell my call options? Well, I'm getting aggressive, and my target for my call options, believing that we're going to go up from here, which I don't know whether we're going to go up or down, but I'm taking that risk that it's going to remain bullish because of all the good news that I gave you guys a moment ago. I'm looking to take profit on my call options at $267 for a peak run. And you say, well, Josh, if you're saying that if it gets above 264, then it's going to go to 315. Why take profits at 267? Guys, we could shoot past 264, but just like it's done before, it will sell off midday and close beneath it, and it may never push higher. That's why it's very important for you guys to understand when I tell you it has to close on the daily or close on the weekly to confirm the bigger move up. And so at the moment, I'm looking for it to move up with my call options, taking profit at 267. I would then expect a sell-off. That's what I'm doing. Hey, I love to know what you guys are doing. What are you doing with the play? If you're bullish and you think there's no way we're breaking beneath 248 and there's no way we're going down, if that's your position, I'd love to hear from you. What's your basis for that? Why do you think it can go up another 50%? We just went up 50% in the last month. If you think it's going up to $315 right now, tell me why. I want to talk about it. I'm going to dive into that news story on the next time I talk about Tesla. You let me know in the comments. And Alibaba, those who've been participating in that trade, I gave you guys that we got the confirmation above $87. And where did we go from there? Man, we shot up to $92. So far, it's working really nicely. I know I've got the shares and the options. Some of you guys told me you had the options and we're up big. I'm very happy for you guys. Let me give you guys the resistance that we have to break through next. It's important for you to watch this. The resistance that we're going to likely push to is $95.28. And we need to see Alibaba overcome $95 when it gets there. That's the area where some of you might take profit on an option play, roll it out to a longer out option play. I'm not giving you guys advice on what you should buy, sell, or hold. Those are just some thoughts. That's the next area of resistance that I'm keeping my eye on for Alibaba, 95 bucks. Okay, let me get a couple other stocks in I think that will interest you guys. I brought up the fact that I was going to cover Norwegian in my last video, but I actually didn't cover it. Apologize about that. Guys, I love Norwegian. I specifically like the CEO of Norwegian. I did a full video on Norwegian over 8 months ago, and I told you guys why this was a good investment. And I actually have successfully purchased it below $13 a number of times and enjoyed a nice run-up, this last run-up being the strongest, pushing up to where it's at now. And here's what I want to tell you. I've got Norwegian in my long-term retirement account because ultimately, I don't see why this won't eventually become a $60 stock again. We keep pushing up against this area of resistance. This is the highest it's pushed in recent days, and in the current swing trade that I'm in, not my long-term investment, I'm looking to take profits at $21.60. And I'm hoping that the volatility will continue and that I will have the opportunity to re-enter at 16. So if you're following me, you understand that if you don't FOMO into it right now, because I said a moment ago that it could hit 60 bucks. Right now, my target is $21 and we're very close to it. If you hadn't gotten in back below $13, it's not the right time to get in per se now, unless you're a long-term investor. But if you're looking to make a quick move in a small account, the place that you would consider getting back in would be on a big pullback, patiently waiting for it to hit $16, and then you could buy there because I think that would be a decent support moving forward. Okay. We have a problem with crypto. Bitcoin broke down to 25,500, and I spent a number of hours yesterday and this morning poring over the charts to consider what does that mean exactly, because technically from past movements, it shouldn't. It could simply mean that the entire crypto market is facing a moment of fear with the SEC, which could be turned around very quickly by Gary Gensler getting fired and a pro-crypto team being put in place. We could see crypto skyrocket. It could be just suffering the bad news right now, and it may be temporary. But it wasn't good that it broke beneath 25,500, and we have to watch it very carefully because at the moment, for me, apart from that good news story coming in, technically, this should continue to break down. And so I have reasons to be concerned. Have I sold any of my long-term crypto? Absolutely not, but I am spending time to understand it, and as soon as I come to understand it, I'll let you know what I think will happen next. My previous prediction of seeing a big Bitcoin move up, I'm taking that off the table right now because right now it's technically entered into a broken down area. Now, here's what I'm watching, and I think that I'll bring it to you guys when I see it confirmed. It's a breakup on the stochastic. It's so extremely oversold, more oversold than people would expect. This final breakdown was unexpected technically, but the good news is that it is in an oversold environment, and if we get that confirmation move up, it should speak to the longer move up. Until I see that move on the stochastic, I need to be clear with you guys, my bullish sentiment has been dampened significantly at this moment. I spent a lot of time on the S&P 500 chart, the SPX, and the SPY, contemplating where would we go next. I've been pretty good about giving you guys predictions that we would hit. I told you guys when we were at 4,100, confirmed that we would move to 42 and then to 43. We haven't had to guess about that. I've shared those confidently that we would make those moves. Now we're in a zone where the charts are not clear to me. Again, it's similar to Bitcoin. I'm sitting here looking at it and I'm wondering, okay, where exactly are we going next? But here's the fundamental story that is shaping my view about the markets. It's what I said earlier, that the last time we had been this bullish, it was in the November 2021 to the end of year peak of the market, and that may be telling us a lot about what to expect next. I will continue to look over those charts, and when they become more clear, I'll let you know what I think. I want to touch on Apple. Apple, I've given you guys this fact that if we needed a nice close above $185, that it would confirm a move up all the way to $195. And today we're above $185, so things are looking pretty good. I'm just going to remind you that key support for Apple is at $173. And in regards to Apple, I was looking at the stochastic RSI, which is the opposite of Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is down in an oversold position, deeper than it's been in a long time. But the stochastic RSI for Apple is in a way overbought position, higher than it's been for a long time. And when it's in that environment in the past, we look at other moves. If we get a crossover to the downside, it could indicate an upwards to a 30% drop in price. And so now I'm not predicting a 30% drop in Apple, but when we were this overbought on the stochastic RSI in the past, we did experience a 30% drop in Apple. So the Apple story feels great when the Apple price is this high, but everybody gets a new set of eyes when that price begins to drop and continue to drop, which we could be facing in the coming days. And I'm watching those technicals very closely. Guys, if you need better trade tools, check out the link in the top pinned comment for the moomoo investment app. They've got a really, really good offer. If you open an account and you put $100 in, they're going to match that $100 and you're going to immediately 1x your account and have $200. Then you've got the opportunity for 5 free stocks plus a guaranteed share of the AI stock, C3 AI, which is going through the roof. It's blown up above $45 today. Very, very exciting. Get that moomoo money, and then over on the app, I host a chat group called Stock Josh Fam. You get that moomoo money, get those free stock, and then you can come find me over there and have more conversation. That's it for today, guys. Thank you so much for joining me. Peace and blessings to all of you. I'll see you in the next video.